Okay, good evening, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order, the City Council meeting of June 7th, 2017. We have a moment of reflection by Joe Garcia. Is Joe here? No. Joe Garcia is not here. So we will move on to, to honor our flag. Councilmember Diaz now. Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Roll call indicates that all council members are here and ready to do business. We have a presentation. Do we have...
They will not be attending tonight.
Oh, they will not be attending. I remember the last 2 years they were late, and then this year is not attending. So that's 3 strikes. Okay. All right. We move on to our oral communications. We have one request. Josh, Brooke.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mayor Abed and City Council. My name is Josh Brock. I'm the Director of Market Development for Renovate America. We operate the Hero PACE program, and I just wanted to take just a couple minutes today to provide just a quick update on the program in your community, as well as some changes that have happened. So quick on the highlights. We've been operating for about 3 years in Escondido. We launched in July of 2014. Since then, we've helped just under 700 homeowners make about $16 million in improvements to the property, resulting in about 142 jobs sustained or created in the city, as well as $29 million in economic stimulus as a result of the direct investment in improving these homes. Obviously, some major improvements. In addition to that, those improvements will save 86 million kilowatt hours of energy over the lifetime of those improvements, as well as offset close to 24,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions. Taking a quick change to what we've been doing to the program. As you may be aware, last year we worked to pass a bill in the state House and Assembly, AB 2693, which created mortgage level disclosures for all PACE programs by changing the PACE statute. And this year we continue to work with the legislator to make additional program enhancements at the statutory level to PACE. But some quick updates on what the program changes that we've made directly within our operations. Every customer that comes through our program now gets what's called a confirmed terms call. So before they sign financing documents and continue with any sort of project, they get a call from us. It's a live recorded line. It confirms the terms of the financing, helps them understand that, yes, I understand that this money I pay back, that this will be paid back on my property taxes. I'm okay with this. I understand how the program works. And if they don't understand the program, or if they didn't understand how the financing worked appropriately, we decline those projects and help them proceed on a different path. We've also worked on implementing a contractor quality rating system. If you've ever seen the movie Moneyball, we've sort of taken big data and statistics into how we manage and rate our contractors. And the fundamental is this. We use an algorithm that rates our contractors on how well they're performing, how well they're doing with their customers, meaning are they having issues that are being brought to our attention, or are they not? And when they do have issues, how severe are these issues, and how quickly do they work to resolve those issues? And through that, we have discovered contractors that were doing really well, and we worked to promote them and enhance them. And we also found contractors that weren't doing right by their customers and weren't following the program guidelines. And we've since terminated our relationships with over 80 contractors in the program as a result of this. It's a great enhancer of the program and helps take the qualitative feel of contractors and make sure they're really following all the guidelines through that. So with that, I am going to end there. My daughter has told me I need to go back and read her a book before she goes to bed, and I live down in San Diego.
Okay.
So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for the update, and Escondido is a proud participant in the HERO program and other solar programs as well. Thank you. All right, good. We move to consent calendar. Any items to be pulled, Council?
Yes.
Which item?
7, just for a quick statement, and
7
11.
and 11. and 4.
4.
Okay, and John? Anything else?
9 and 10.
9 and 10.
Left.
That will be Mike. Okay, I need a motion to approve the rest. I have a motion by Councilmember Gallo. I have a second by Councilmember Diaz. Please vote.
5 yes votes.
Good start, Council. Good start. Good job. Okay. Item 4, final map for Escondido TRACT, located at 3332444 West Washington Avenue.
I pulled this because they're a former client of mine. I'm just going to abstain from the vote.
Okay, then we will vote on that separately. I need a motion. I have a motion by Councilmember Diaz, a second by Councilmember Morasco. Please vote.
4 yes votes. Masson abstained.
Good. Okay. Item 7, lease agreement with Cross Connection Church for unimproved surplus right-of-way property. Councilmember Gallo.
Just a quick comment. The reason why we got a revised report, because I was pretty good at map reading, because I'm a former Boy Scout, and I noticed that the northeast corner of that intersection was a hotel. So it's really the southeast corner.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good. Good catch. All right. And I have a motion. Sorry, you have a question? Question, Councilmember Masson. 1 second, guys. Yeah.
Just a question. This is surplus property. Do we want to consider selling it? Is it something we need to hold on to? Would they consider buying it, or do we have plans for this property?
It's actually a very small piece of property.
Yeah.
It wouldn't, we've looked at adjacent commercial uses, other uses that might want to buy it. There's no interest, so we just keep leasing it for the parking.
Okay.
And one quick question. Right now, they have a big storage container right on that spot that we're talking about. They have some place for parking, but they also have that large storage container. Does that matter as far as what the use is for? Because it's supposed to be for parking, but...
Well, we have an ordinance about storage containers that we probably...
Do you want to come forward and address those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here comes the expert.
And I'm Vince McCaw, Real Property Manager. We will address if there is a storage container on the site. I wasn't aware that there was one there, but it is for parking and parking only purposes. So as a means of addressing the extension or the new lease that we'll be putting in place, we will ensure that it will be only for parking use and not for any storage of container use.
Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like purple color, or
Right.
not purple, but maroon.
Okay, we're good. Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Diaz, a second by Councilmember Gallo. Please vote.
That wasn't from Deseret, was it, Mike?
5 yes votes.
All right. Okay, we go on to item 9, extension of time for tentative subdivision map. Councilmember Morasco.
No, I think you pulled 10.
9 and 10.
Minor issue, well, aside from the fact...
One second. Okay, go ahead.
Aside from the fact that we're talking about 10 lots, and if you look at what you have to go through, and this was starting back in 2007 and extended on to today, it's mind-boggling to me everything that has to be looked at for these 10 possible future lots here in the city of Escondido, including addressing global warming and everything else. But the one item that we may want to look at, and our city manager is aware of this, is under schools, where it's talking about the K through 8 and the high schools not being able to house students, and therefore this was a consideration. It's the exact opposite now. They desperately need students because both are going through declining enrollment, and so this particular section, for what it's worth, may not be worth anything, should be at least reversed, if not addressed, for any future applications that may be out there, because right now they're all looking for whatever students they can get.
Okay.
That's it.
Councilmember Gallo, you have a comment on this?
Yeah, well, just...
Okay.
Well, from past history, the first time this proposal surfaced was about, I'm going to say 20 years ago. Okay? That was the first proposal for something on that property. And it came and went, and finally we're getting another one, I'm 100% for it. Yeah. It's the
Okay.
Same thing.
I need a motion to approve this item. I have a motion by Councilmember Gallo, a second by Councilmember Morasco. Please vote.
5 yes votes.
Excellent. Item 10, the grant of access for the Central City Shopping Center. Councilmember Morasco.
I have several questions. Go ahead. Several questions. First of which, are the tenants already chosen for these buildings that we're talking about approving?
Yeah, so Adam Feinstone, Principal Planner.
Thank you.
The applicant for the plot plan does have tenants selected or tentatively lined up for a few of the suites there for Building A, and we can pull up the site plan if you could just give us
Thank
a
you.
second. Building A is the one that's closest to the corner there. The two tenants in that building, one of them, the one closest to the corner there, would be a optical company. I think Stanton Optical is the name.
A drive-in? A drive-through optical?
No. The drive-through lane is for the other building there, or for the other tenant in that building there. So you'd be driving by the optical.
We still don't know who the tenants are for these drive-throughs.
The one on that building there, Building A, it is intended to be Habit Burger. And then the other building, Building B, is unknown at this point. Building C is obviously a semi-self-serve car wash there.
Okay. And semi-self-serve, okay. And it will have both ingress and egress off of Center City Parkway?
Correct.
Okay, and on the egress, can you go back? On the egress portion of it, there's the widened area that eliminates that one entrance lane. Why is that? Why is it designed that way?
Good evening, Councilman Morasco, Mayor, rest of the council members, Homi Namdari, Assistant.
Is it just
Engineer.
stormwater?
With a quick explanation, we did have years and years ago established a guideline on design of access onto properties from Center City Parkway. That guideline has been around for about 30 years now and has been applied across the corridor of Center City Parkway. And the design goes like this, provides a deceleration lanes for the cars to be able to slow down and get into the project. But coming out, we wanted to come to the full stop, not to create an acceleration lane, so let the cars find the gap in the traffic to be able to get in the traffic, not to compete with the through traffic on Center City Parkway. That's why there are no narrows. And then at the approaching Mission, we create that, again, help with the free right turn and easy to get off Center City Parkway and be able to get on Mission. And this design has been applied across the corridor and
Right.
has been proven to be working along the way.
5 other projects.
Well, this is one of our busiest intersections in the city of Escondido. And for those of you who frequent it, it's, yeah, you know what it's like. It's an incredibly busy intersection. Personally, I think approving the ingress-egress the way it is something I'm really not too interested in, nor am I really interested in the granting of the access. But the primary reason is because we're creating 5 venues, all of which are very heavy automobile-designed centers or facilities that's going to significantly impact the traffic at that intersection. And anywhere, if you've gone any other drive-throughs that we have, fast food places on Valley Parkway or otherwise, where you have high rate of speed, individuals driving by, people trying to get in and out, and then backing up into the drive-in area, it's a nightmare. And now we're going to put it at one of our busiest areas with multiple drive-throughs as well as car washes. It just doesn't seem to be the right mix of business for that intersection. Again, primarily concerned about the traffic. Not real interested personally in more drive-in fast food restaurants or another car wash, especially on a property that has, I think, significant impact for the this portion of our city as we're trying to renovate and elevate this region. I don't see how this necessarily contributes to that. So I have a real difficult time with this and am currently not in favor of granting access.
Okay.
But that's
Let me just follow up with Councilmember Morasco. You make a good point, but the use of the proposed use of this property is by right. This is what we have approved in the general plan. That's what we have approved in the downtown specific plan. And the reason why we did not allow car washes on Grand Avenue or somewhere else, because we want them to be on the outside skirt. This is now, we're not approving the project because the project, the applicant can build those by right. So he's allowed to do that. The only questions we have is to give him access on Central City Parkway. Historically, homie, you are right. We have at least 6 other projects that we have granted access from Central City Parkway. This is, yes. And we have done it for every other things, and the new project, across the street, Mount Vernon, also is proposing the same thing. So this is a blighted area, and I understand the traffic issue, but that's why they have made the ingress and egress is to mitigate that thing. 16,000 square feet of retail and commercial. It's a good project, but my understanding is if we don't grant the access, this project will be dead. And I don't know if any other applicant will be interested in that corner if they don't get access from Central City Parkway. Right, but it's okay, no problem. John?
Yeah, a couple questions. If you can put that site plan back up, please. So I was thinking that the Latitude 2 had an acceleration lane. Am I? No?
It doesn't.
It doesn't?
Have the same, using the same criteria.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little bit concerned about that, thinking it would make sense just to keep that at one lane, to just go either keep going right on Mission or merge into the rest of the through traffic lanes. But yeah, I thought we had done that before. The other question I had on Mission. They're pushing the improvements out, not doing full width improvements to the property line. Do we have plans to widen Mission east? Is that like down the road?
Correct. Mission going east between Center City Parkway and Escondido Boulevard should be a major road. Right now it's built to a collector street, so it needs to be widened by another 9 feet. This project is going to not only widen Mission to major road standards, but it's going to create a double left turn going westbound on Mission to Center City Parkway. That would help with the congestion of traffic. I do have a short presentation if you wish to share with you about your concern about traffic, the overall project.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but let me finish my question first, and we can go on that. So I guess my concern is that they're not doing full frontal improvements. They're transitioning over through their driveway.
At the driveway.
As opposed to doing full improvements and then doing an off-site transition. I just was curious if...
The reason for they can't do the off-site transition because the shopping center right adjacent to this property.
They're not willing to give up the right of way?
Sitting right at that location. We see recycling of that, redevelopment of that project will allow major road improvements to continue on.
Okay. That's all the questions I have right now.
Okay, well, let's hear from Homie about the traffic and go back to the council.
Very quickly to start, go through my short presentation. Applicant's request for...
Get closer to the microphone, Homie, please.
I apologize. We are presenting the request by the applicants as far as acquiring access rights from the project onto Center City Parkway. This is the location of projects. Currently, it was Old Wagon Wheel Restaurant and Paul Free Lodge. The access rights along Center City Parkway is new. Back in late 40s, to build Center City Parkway, state took blocks. On one side took Pine, and the other side took all the access rights and bought the properties along the way. So from then on, any access rights should have been granted by the city council and for any project having access. Say previous access rights have been granted through an access easement and lease agreements with payment and potential maintenance of the frontage. And we've established the value of the ingress and egress based on previous lease agreements, and applicants would, on top of that, would be required to do frontage improvements to build a proper access right in accordance with our established guideline. And this is the looks of the project. If you see this project, roughly what it's going to do by looking at this, it's going to construct the third lane on Center City Parkway, which will be continuing the Center City third lane from Latitude 2, so we're going to have 3 lanes from Washington Avenue all the way up to freeway ramp. And that would help us with alleviating some of the traffic on Center City Parkway and at the Mission intersection. Currently, Center City Parkway has 2 lanes of traffic, 2 through lanes going northbound and southbound. We have recognized a need for third lane between Washington and freeway ramps. So therefore, Latitude 2 project that is currently located and under construction just to the south of this project is going to construct a third lane of through traffic. And on top of that, we'll be constructing access ingress, egress to their site. 4 lanes total. 4 lanes total. That's correct. 4 lanes total. And what folks are doing, duplicating the 3 lanes and duplicating the ingress, egress design for the project from Center City Parkway. Very quickly, this description of the project would include 5 different types of use, fast food, and ultimately a car wash. And together with the parcel map and joint use agreements between the parking. The project it proposes to do certain improvements as part of the project. One is widen Center City Parkway to create the third northbound lane, and technically would have 3 lanes going all the way to freeway ramps. Second is build this access ingress egress opening from Center City Parkway in accordance with our guideline with deceleration lane. And the third would be widening Mission Avenue along the frontage to major road improvement. These are the standard frontage improvements that the project is doing. Beyond that, when we did the going through environmental review process, we did a traffic study for the project to determine what are the impacts of the project over and beyond frontage improvements. And what we noticed is this project actually over and beyond the frontage, what they have to construct is, as part of the project improvements, due to their impact, direct impact, is second lane, left turn lane, to provide for double left turn going westbound on Mission at CCP. And on top of it, when you do that, and beyond that, creating that third lane would continue on. It requires signal modification, a retiming of the signal at the intersection, and by doing retiming of the signal, we have to go and coordinate the signal between that corridor.
Can you show where the double left-hand turn lane is?
A double left-hand turn lane is, if you see Mission, if you look at Mission, approaching the CCP right now, we have single left, and what they'll be doing is creating a double left, and we'll be widening the improvements on their side.
Is that done by eliminating a flow-through lane?
No. It's what it's going to be doing is we're working with the proper striping, and striping will continue on the other side of the intersection to create this double, and the cars will be able to easily continue through lanes. Correct. We'll still continue to have 2 through lanes along Mission. Over and beyond these mitigations, coordination signal system, make sure after they get done everything is coordinated. These projects that have not only direct but have cumulative impacts. And cumulative impact of this project calls for pay fair share toward the other side of Mission at CCP, which to help the city's project to create a double left from going eastbound at the intersection of Mission and Center City Parkway. And in addition to these two, they have to extend the turn pockets northbound and southbound Center City Parkway to allow for more storage on Center City Parkway left turn pockets. We do have double left turns, but what we see is we need more storage. Pardon me?
You can't get into them. There's not enough.
Exactly. That's what this project is going to do, some more widening of that.
One sec. Let him finish the presentation. Yeah. Go ahead.
Right. So these are going to be the traffic improvements that is going to be between direct impact that they have to construct improvements and they have to coordinate signal timing, and beyond that would be fair share toward the ultimate project that city will be doing in the future. And with that, we've gone through, reviewed the traffic study, and it seems like the project is mitigating the project impacts during the current condition and the future with cumulative project in near term and ultimate build-up.
Thank you, Homi. I wanted to pull this item basically because I think it's just too important to have it on consent calendar. So I'm glad we are debating this. And you're exactly right. I think all these traffic mitigations are done because of the intense traffic there at this corner. But I'm glad that we are going through the process. Let's go through the council members' comments as well. Councilmember Diaz.
Thank you. I recognize that this is a by right development, but we still have a little bit of opportunity to influence some of the elements. So the project, do you have elevations of it, pictures of it?
Yeah, give me 1 sec. Let me pull those real quick.
Anything is an improvement over what's there now. And if the only tenant we know is Habit Burger, I recognize it's still somewhat fast food, but it is kind of the right market to go with those Latitude expansion apartments. It's sort of a trendy kind of restaurant. Habit, right? That was my wife's favorite place. Okay, so they've got that going for them. But the residents at the new Latitude and the old Latitude, one of the ways to remove the intensity of car use is to let those people walk here. Because I think that would be a thing to do, is walk from those. But we're not adding sidewalks, and we're not really encouraging anybody to walk along Center City, which is, last week I tried to talk about it at a different segment of Center City, but as we add more cool stuff, and as we encourage bike lanes and pedestrian access, as we try to create the kind of environment where you can walk from your house to someplace and have dinner, we need to not just worry about the turn lanes, but also worry about pedestrian access. So what are we doing on Center City? I know there's sidewalks going down Mission, and they're very heavily used, but we're not encouraging any pedestrian access on Center City. And this would tie in nicely for Latitude 33 that is already in existence. The new Latitude expansion, I don't know if it has a different name, we just kind of call it Part 2.
Latitude 2.
Latitude 2.
32 2?
No, 2.
Latitude 2? Yeah. So the expansion... So you'd have to get in your car and drive there to feel safe about it, or with your kids, or you'd have to figure out how to come in from another angle.
There is a road that in Latitude 2 that ends up to the back of the car wash for this project, just to the south of the car wash. At the early stages of the project, we did bring this issue that if they could create some connectivity between the Latitude 2 project and this project, there is a minor elevation difference, but for the roads to be able to at least walk in this area. But I think there was no interest on the project owner, developers here. They did make an attempt, I believe, based on what we've heard, that tried to make work between Latitude 2 and this project. There will be a pedestrian connectivity, not necessarily walking along Center City Parkway, right, but the interior between the two projects.
But you're limiting it only to this phase 2 of Latitude. I'm talking about the original Latitude, and as we add condos and other living, I mean, you have to be able to walk from one block to the next in downtown, and when you're walking, sometimes you want to go the shortest route. You don't want to have to walk all the way down to Escondido Boulevard and all the way back around, right? So can we talk about, as part of this development, adding frontage sidewalk along Center City to encourage pedestrian access? Not from the car wash, not from the back of the apartments, but like legitimate open access. Think about walking from here to there, right? It's not that far. And when you go to a big city, you walk a lot further. How would you get there?
Yeah, but that's a good point.
So, I just think if we don't build it, people are still going to try and find a way, and it's more dangerous, especially, because you're having ingress and egress out of there, but no clearly marked pedestrian access.
You are correct.
I know I am. That's why I bring it up.
Just to clarify that, sidewalk along Center City Parkway was not encouraged for years and years because we did not have this type of dense developments along Center City corridor. As you know, we do have sidewalk, and there's only one stretch that's between Second and Grand that we have sidewalk on Center City Parkway. It's always opportunity. There's always been council discretion, and that's maybe because we did have on Center City Parkway for the longest time a lot of mid-block walkers. They would go at night, at daytime, so that was fences were installed so people would not be able to cross over. That's why the sidewalk has never been part of Center City Parkway, but things are changing. If the council wishes to include sidewalk, staff could definitely look at.
This is part of a circulation, like a really good circulation plan. We should at least start to address sidewalk, because I would like to encourage this kind of development along Center City. I'm not opposed to the ingress and outgress, whatever we're calling it. And I think as we have more of our older dilapidated properties on Center City redeveloped, they're going to want this, and we probably should start making it a condition of development. Otherwise, in 10 or 15 years, we're going to have to figure out where to come up with the money to install sidewalks for the whole length of it. Right? It's easier if it's part of the plan to begin with. So,
Okay.
no, because we didn't allow it, right? And so the first one doesn't, the second one doesn't. With this one, is it too late to double back and incorporate that?
For this project?
For everything, Latitude 1, 2, and this.
For Latitude 1 and 2, I believe they have their entitlements and they have all the maps going for recordation, but this project, I'm sure if you wish to incorporate that, we could look at it, see if possibility.
Anything else, Councilmember Diaz?
Also, I remember with the Latitudes, we had a certain number of trees that we wanted along Center City. Did we keep the same ratios for this project?
You know, I'm not aware exactly the number that was required for the Latitude projects, but this does maintain the number that's required in our landscape ordinance.
Okay, it was the same ordinance, so they'll have it. So it'll look consistent then when you look at that entire block of Center City with the two new developments. There'll be some kind of feel like they thought it through.
Correct.
Okay, great. Well, that's all. Sidewalks.
Good points. Councilmember Gallo.
First of all, from a safety standpoint, I wouldn't suggest having sidewalks on Center City Parkway. I think it's too busy, too high a speed. Anyway, that's my thought on the sidewalk. And I would think that the developer of this project would want to have access from Latitude. And I would think that they probably already tried this, and it might not work because you're going to have, how many, 75 units, 100, whatever it is?
112.
That's a lot of customers, okay? And so if there's no way to do it, then there's no way to do it.
Let him finish, John.
Okay. We have to go back a ways to find out how this property got destroyed. When the McDonald's was built, it cut off the access, the westbound access from Mission into that property. And the wagon wheel owners, I met with them, this was going back to, let's see, Rolf was still city manager, so that'd be 2001 or 2. And I told him, I said, Rolf, if we don't do something with that intersection and widen it so that people can make a U-turn, there will never be anything built on that corner. So lo and behold, within like 30 or 60 days, we built another turn lane, cut back the front of Wagon Wheel so that people can make a U-turn and at least get into the Wagon Wheel restaurant from westbound. Okay? But now, this property is basically useless without the Center City Parkway right in, right out. Because there, in my opinion, I think most of the traffic, the exiting traffic, will be going out to Mission. And with the three through lanes, travel lanes, plus the turn lane, it's going to make it a lot safer intersection, regardless of the amount of traffic. And the amount of traffic is only there from 4 to 5, okay? So you stay off of Center City between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, all right?
You're mistaken.
No. I drive that a lot. And I try to stay off of it after 4 o'clock, because that's the going home traffic, going home from work traffic. Glad to see so many people working. Let's see. And the other thing is, after the major market center was built, the city's policy was no more right-in, right-out on Center City Parkway. That was it. That was the last one we're going to do. And how many years ago was that? 20?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years. Now I'm glad to see that we've changed our mind and say we can have right-in, right-out. Because I've been trying to get right-in, right-out for the Mount Vernon forever. Okay? Ever since... Yeah, but I want to get a right-in, right-out there, do away with that right turn lane on Mission, do away with the turn-in from Mission into the Mount Vernon.
Easier for the police and fire
Please, Council, let every council members make their comments and take their time so we can listen to what they have to say, and we go back as many times as you want.
So I'm okay with the project. I think it's going to look good, like Olga said. Whatever goes there, I think the elevations look a lot nicer than what's there now. Unfortunately, the wagon wheel is so old. Okay, I mean, it's been out of business for quite a while. Yeah. And when the state built that was Highway 395, and this was residual property that was left over and never used, so now we're using it.
Councilmember Masson?
Yeah, thanks. It's hard to have a dialogue back and forth when I jump in and have an immediate response, so I apologize for the interruptions, but Ed does it to me all the time, so I think we're okay. Yeah. Personally, I'm kind of with Mr. Marasco. I really don't like the fast food and the car wash and everything else. I understand it's by right. There's really not much we can do about it. It is better than what's there now. I am in favor of in and out access in Center City Parkway. I think that's a good thing for business and commerce. I think Olga has a point about connectivity and walkability as we're heading toward more density downtown. We should be considering that, and I don't know if it's too late on this. Obviously, it's too late on latitude 1 and 2. And maybe we consider it more as we get down toward the core of downtown on future projects. But I think that's, we're heading that direction, so I think it's worthy of consideration.
I think Councilmember Marasco, you made a good point, and it's a very challenging corner, but I think we granted this access to 6 other projects, and I think that this configuration has been successful, my understanding. And I think that's going to improve the area, and we need everything. We need car washes in the downtown. We need fast food. Normally the fast food are outside the downtown area, but I also agree with Councilmember I mean, in the downtown, we have worked so hard on the downtown specific plan to restrict certain businesses here and there, and that's why the car washes, we put it outside, a little bit outside the downtown area. But the applicant is paying $54,000 and is paying $43,000 for the Central City Parkway access. I totally understand with the traffic mitigation, but I think he's mitigating more than, because of the fast food and the drive-through, it's always demanding. You know what happened at the former Toyota site. It's always challenging thing. But I think he's improving not only on that street, but across the street as well. So I think it's going to be benefit to the entire area. I had the same concern about the marginal uses, but I was assured by the staff that this is by right. This is what we have in the general plan. This is what we have in the downtown specific plan. Maybe we should revisit that next time and maybe have whatever vision we have for that area. So with that,
I wasn't done.
oh, I thought, yeah.
No, you just jumped in.
Okay, all right. Can you push the button again?
No, I'm on still. You never.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so the end of my point was going to be, it is what it is. I don't think, the train's on the tracks. I don't think there's any way for us to get in front of it other than denying access, which I don't think I would do. I'd like to revisit this. I think we have enough fast food. I think we have enough car washes in Escondido. I think we really need to control the quality of what we bring to our town and step it up a couple notches. This is kind of a gateway project for me, I think, in our city. And it really isn't the highest and best use. So I really would want to revisit these uses in the GC area or look at our overlay again and figure out what we're doing and how we're doing it to prevent something like this happening again.
Last word to Councilmember Marasco.
Okay, this is where I eat crow because I like going home at night and sleeping in my bed and living with my wife. And why'd you have to say habit burger? I mean, now if I don't vote for this,
Gonna be in trouble.
I am in huge trouble. You could have been anything else in the world; it would not have been an issue.
Right.
But it had to be habit burger.
Okay. I do have one.
It's interesting though. I've never seen a habit burger that has drive-through. So
Okay. Well, people will be happier with the burger, so that's the idea. Okay. I have one speaker here, Carol Ray. But please, next time, submit your request before we start the item. But that's okay.
moved up to Old Escondido neighborhood.
No, I'll talk to you later about that.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm speaking just as plain old Carol Ray tonight. And I have to admit that every time someone said, it's certainly better than what we have now, it kind of tore at my heart a little bit, as you would fully expect. What's there now has been allowed to deteriorate. It was a
nice.
very important motor lodge in its day. And certainly, and I've heard you say, we have too many car washes, too many restaurants. We have a school right next to where the car wash will be. That will be an interesting mix of exhaust and noise for those school children. But think about this. What do we not have enough of? And that's quality lodging. Just because that place has been allowed to deteriorate over all these years doesn't mean that somebody couldn't take that on, and it could be a boutique motel, which is very much in demand right now, $300 a night. Think about Cruise and Grand, where car owners could park their $100,000 restored cars directly in front of their units and enjoy this 50s kind of flavor in this motel. And think about the view from the freeway once it's restored beautifully, and the kind of look that would have, as opposed to those big block buildings that they'll probably deteriorate in 50 years. So I just thought I'd plant that seed that, you've got bed tax and, benefits from having a motor lodge return to that location.
Okay. Thank you. One last comment. Just want to make sure that I think the 2 points have been made, Councilmember Diaz and Councilmember Masson, everybody, that we need to revisit the downtown specific plan. Right now, they can build by right. That's why we don't have the approval of the project in front of us. We have only the access. And I'm very satisfied. Is this the best and highest use? No. But I think it will add some viability to the downtown. It will bring more people, 16,000 square feet, 3 nice looking buildings. But Councilmember Diaz, you made a good point. I think we need to revisit the entire walkability of the downtown and connectivity. And I think we need to revisit that. Maybe we should do it with the downtown specific plan review. But absolutely, this will bring a lot more people to the downtown area, which we desperately need to bring this viability. And I think, yes, we're not going to have more car washes, more marginal uses in the downtown. But here we are today, and I will be supporting the project, but I also would like to revisit that use in the downtown and also the walkability of the downtown as well. Okay, I closed the public hearing already. Councilmember Diaz, you want to have? Okay, go ahead.
I had not even considered the historic value of the property because in my 14 years in the city, nothing good has happened with that property. It has been a blight, and
Right there.
well, I'm talking about the hotel and all that. Right, as a unit, like that corner to me has been undervalued, underutilized, and the utilization it did have for some time has not been a positive for our city. It doesn't mean it can't be something different, but there is no interest in that investment, and we don't own it, we don't control it, we don't invest in it. So sometimes the market does offer opportunity, and in this, that opportunity doesn't exist for this property where it is. I don't know is it on some kind of historic registry? No, it's not, right? So it is. So they're saying it is. So I had not even considered that because I just don't look at it and feel inspired by that property. So if it's too late at this stage. But if we have, moving forward, other properties that have some kind of historic value that we need to consider, I'd like the staff report to reflect that. I know we've given signs We've given awards to period signage for old buildings like the liquor store sign, and I think
George Muffler.
a lot of different sign, right? That I would look at those and think, okay, they have historic significance. It's not just the wagon was so, but that wasn't anything that I even thought about until Carol brought it up, right? So I apologize for not considering that because I usually do, but I think it's usually around housing that gets my interest or attention first, not around that particular property. So I don't know what there would be to do at this stage because we don't own it and it's already been, you know, what we can't stop it. I don't think so.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Gallo. I need a second. I have a second by Councilmember Masson. Please vote.
5 yes votes.
Okay, great, thank you. Item 11, Councilmember Gallo, California Coastal Conservancy, Proposition 1, Grant Program Application. Councilmember Gallo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Come on, Mayor, move this thing along. would you?
Let's see. Okay, what if, here's the question. Can we have one meeting here? How soon can we get this done? And what if we don't get the grant? What happens then? Because this thing has been going on for, let's see, when was Elmer Cameron on the council? 20 years ago?
I'll make it easy for you. If we don't get this grant, somebody else is going to get it. That's the short answer.
No, what happens to the, I don't care about, you know, if somebody else gets it. But if we don't get it, what happens to this project? Because this has been going on for over 20 years with this mosquito thing. You know, that's my,
Helen Davis, Environmental Programs. If we don't get this grant, then the project will still happen and we will still continue to apply for other grants. We have something else that's come up where we've been recommended to apply for that. So it should not impede the project at all. Currently, the project's on schedule. We're in design, and it should be completed in spring of next year. And then we'll put the project out to bid and get the work done.
and so Jeff has to figure out where the money's going to come from then, right?
We have a $1 million
No,
application.
if we don't get the grant, then it comes from general fund money. And we're going to have to figure out a way to get it done.
I have a figure here that might help.
This all happened because of bad engineering, okay? And this was back in the 60s.
Okay. So,
Well, the maintenance too.
so this is the project.
Yeah.
And this is what I prepared in anticipation of this kind of question. The grant is for the area that's highlighted in yellow. So that's the unvegetated part of the channel. We have a grant already to deal with the improvements at West Valley Parkway, and so some of that will help with the improvement. And we've also obtained a second county vector control grant for this hardscape portion. And we have been, over the last few years, as we've been doing the design and doing the permitting, putting money aside in the CIP budget to ensure that we have the funding.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve? I have a motion by Councilmember Masson and second by Councilmember Marasco. Please vote. Leave it or not, we're still in the consent calendar. Okay.
5 yes votes.
All right. Moving on to public hearings. Item 13, public hearing for recommendations for allocation of home funds. Staff report, please. What's that? You have made a motion already?
Yeah.
No, please, take it off. We're not ready yet. We are a good government here. We need to hear the public first.
I would waive the staff report.
Just please do the motion when I ask for the motion. We need to go through the public hearing process.
Good afternoon.
The ACLU is watching us, right, Mike?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. I'm Karen Ewell, Housing and Neighborhood Services Manager. Agenda item 13 is a public hearing for allocations in response to a request for proposal for home funds. City received questions from 3 developers in response to the RFP, which was released in March of 2017. One proposal from Interfaith Community Services was received. The proposal meets all of the criteria of the RFP, and Interfaith intends to use these units to assist families who are at risk of homelessness. Staff recommends funding this proposal. As we discussed on May 3rd, Interfaith has proposed the purchase of 557 to 563 Astor Street, a fourplex just east of Washington Park. Each of the 4 units has 2 bedrooms and will be restricted to families earning 60% of the area median income. Interfaith has been working to address blight in this neighborhood since 1993 and now owns 17 of 28 fourplexes in the neighborhood. Each building that they purchased has been rehabilitated, improving the neighborhood. Interfaith is requesting $450,000 to purchase and rehabilitate the property. The rehabilitation will focus on deferred project maintenance and is expected to include repairs and replacements in the kitchens and bathrooms, new flooring, roof repairs, painting, and safety improvements. This project will address the elimination of bright light and urban renewal to continue to improve an aging neighborhood. So staff would like to recommend the adoption of Resolution 2017-66R, authorizing a commitment of $450,000 in home funds to Interfaith Community Services for the acquisition and rehabilitation of this Astor Street home. So this concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, just for clarification, we have heard this item before, but the public, the notice for public hearing has not been printed in the paper, so that's why we have to take a corrective action. For the council members, if you want to make remarks, it has to be consistent what you said last month. So you're taking a risk here. So, but anyway, Councilmember Diaz.
I don't have a question about the applicant. I have a question about the funding. The last time I checked or heard, their federal budget had, while they were considering eliminating home funds and CDBG funds altogether. So if that happens, does the applicant know that there's a possibility we will not have these resources?
So these funds are specific. They've already been received. They're for previous year's home funds.
So these don't go away?
So these will not go away.
And when?
And then item number 14 will talk about our 2017-2018 budget. Mm-hmm. So for fiscal year 2017-18, the federal government has approved a budget which includes the home and the CDBG and the ESG. And we'll discuss that a little bit. We have the fiscal year 2018, so the 2018-19, because the federal budget's a different numbering system. That is where they're talking about eliminating CDBG and home funds.
Okay, so we don't have to brace for it yet. Yep. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, you might already have an answer for this. When the city passes through resources, whether it's CDBG, home funds, or any other kind of general fund dollars, when we share resources to a nonprofit to do good work in our community, what kind of filter do we put those applicants through in terms of vetting their financial stability, their board members, all that kind of stuff?
We do look at all of that kind of information. We ask for audits in the past. We audit the projects as they go forward. We ask for references for the nonprofits so that we can talk to other jurisdictions who have worked with them. Often, for home, we don't really look at necessarily the board of directors unless they're at CHODO. But we do vet the organization as a whole.
Okay. We occasionally have issues with nonprofits that we support, then they just sort of disappear. It's happened, a few times. So I'd like us to, not for now, not for today, but for future funding cycles, include some of that information in the council staff plan so that we can look at it too, so the public has the same access to those documents, so the public can also see how we're screening. And I know of one site, and maybe there's a better one that can be recommended, but it's the Charity Navigator site, where charities that or nonprofits that want to seek additional funding, whether it be from governments or from donors or foundations, they provide a lot of information to publicly make themselves transparent to whoever's going to give them money. And then I would want for any applicants that we give money to be listed on that site at the very least, or its equivalent if there's a better site. That's the one that I'm familiar with.
And here locally, a lot also are registered with the San Diego Foundation, and they have a really good screening tool as well to give donors information.
So if we could have that screening report included with every applicant that's, we're considering giving money to, because, we just assume that everybody's doing good work, and they are, but it is important that we be responsible fiscal agents, even with who we share resources with, right? If they're having fiscal problems, we might not even think about talking about that here, but if it's in the report, if they have a grade or some, interfaith is not the issue, but in the future, if we apply the same filter, I think that would be a way to safeguard these resources. So I support this particular project again. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
Well, I want to open the public hearing. This is a public hearing. Greg, Angel, you've done a good job last time. Don't just don't take risks now.
So good evening, Mayor, honorable council members. It's a pleasure to be here. I just wanted to thank you for your consideration, thank staff for their review, and make myself available for any questions.
Thank you. And basically, the staff came up with this recommendation based on the council direction and priorities of homeless and transitional housing. And I think Interfaith has a long history of working with the city, helping us address the homeless situation. And I think you're right about the vetting and about the background check. That's why the staff will do that for us. Okay, I have a motion by by Deputy Mayor Masson, second by Council Member Gallo. Please vote. Again.
5 yes votes.
Excellent. Okay, we'll move on to item 14, fiscal year 2017-18 CDBG fund, 1-year action plan for CDBG funds.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Karen Ewell, Housing and Neighborhood Services Manager, and to my left is Nancy Melander, our Management Analyst. This is the second and final required public hearing to approve the fiscal year 2017-2018 action plan. The 1-year action plan is a document that the city is required to update and submit annually. It describes the specific activities and allocations to the city and how the city will designate that year's CDBG, ESG, and home funds. The required action plan must include priorities, goals, and strategies for all activities, sources of funding to implement those activities, and a detailed distribution of CDBG, ESG, and home activity allocations. In order to be eligible, all activities and projects funded with CDBG must meet at least one of the 3 HUD-mandated national objectives, including benefit to low-income persons, aid in the elimination of slum or blight, or meeting an urgent need. All of the activities proposed today will meet the first objective to benefit low-income persons. One requirement of the annual action plan is to provide for citizen participation. Public notices are printed in the local newspaper in English and Spanish, and email notifications are provided to those who have expressed interest in receiving CDBG, ESG, and home notifications electronically. We are required to hold 2 public hearings throughout the process, and the first was held on March 8th, at which time Council reaffirmed the community development priorities, and the second is today. A 30-day public review period of the document is required. That review period began on June 1st and will continue until June 30th. The draft of the actual annual action plan is posted on the city website and is also available in hard copy at various city facilities or electronically upon request. Citizen comment is encouraged and is accepted in person, by phone, or by email. Any comments received will be addressed and incorporated into the annual action plan before submittal to HUD.
Based on community needs assessments and public participation of the amended 5-year consolidated plan, 6 community development priorities were identified and adopted as part of the fiscal year 2015-2019 amended consolidated plan for CDBG. Those 6 priorities are youth, support educational and recreational opportunities, economic development, support adult education and training, senior assistance supporting seniors, neighborhood revitalization, improve livability of neighborhoods, homelessness, support the homeless and other services when feasible, and ADA improvements. Incorporate ADA accessible features in all CDBG public improvement projects and address public facility needs as they are identified. This slide shows the breakdown of the CDBG allocation for fiscal year 17-18 based on council direction at the March 6th public hearing. We have included as part of our budget the maximum allowable 20% of the allocation to be used for administration, as well as the maximum allowable 15% to be used for public service activities. At this time, we have not been formally notified by HUD of our annual allocation. Should the allocation be substantially higher or lower, a public hearing will be scheduled for council to review and approve any necessary amendments to the annual action plan. Applications for funding are updated and released on an annual basis upon approval of the City Council in early spring. A description of the CDBG funding process, application materials, and resources for technical assistance are posted on the Neighborhood Services website and are provided by staff upon request. An RFP was released on March 9th with applications due April 12th. The City of Escondido has received 5 proposals from outside agencies for fiscal year 2017-2018 CDBG funding. The City of Escondido has received 4 proposals from outside agencies for fiscal year 17-18 public service funding. Alliance for Regional Solutions, whom we currently fund, is requesting $50,000 for its year-round bridge housing network. Escondido Education Compact is requesting $31,898 for its recovery and re-engagement program, assisting youthful offenders through workforce training and case management. Meals on Wheels, whom we currently fund, is requesting $30,000 for its in-home meal delivery service to moderate and low-income seniors. And lastly, the San Diego Children's Museum is requesting $15,000 to provide subsidized education workshops to low-income students from schools within the Escondido Union School District. The city has received an additional proposal from Escondido Child Care Development Center for CDBG capital funding. ECCDC, who is a past recipient, is requesting $25,000 for installation of fencing at their West 9th Avenue location. This project is a current recipient of city-allocated CDBG funds.
Okay. So administration includes city costs and fair housing services. As a recipient of CDBG funds, the city is required to take steps to affirmatively further fair housing within its jurisdiction as part of the obligation it assumes. Fair housing services are allowable under public service or administration. By utilizing administration funds, the city is able to fund more programs under public service. The fiscal year 2017-2018 action plan includes activities which address the priorities of the amended consolidated plan. Staff recommends continued funding for the following programs. The Learn to Swim program, which is provided by the city and provides water safety training to low-income youth and adults. We have older adult services provided by the city's Community Services Department. It includes the Senior Care Program, a low-cost transportation program, and the Senior Nutrition Program at the Park Avenue Community Center. Neighbor to Neighbor supports the neighborhood revitalization priority as an additional component to the Grants to Blocks program in our 18 neighborhood groups. Neighborhood cleanups, block parties, leadership training, neighborhood group meetings, and other neighborhood organization efforts in low-income neighborhoods will be supported through this program. Additionally, outreach and initial planning for an appropriate lighting solution in the Old Escondido neighborhood can also be funded through this program. We received, as we mentioned, several non-city public service applications. We recommend the San Diego Children's Museum. They proposed an expansion of their educational workshops and new educational material to encourage children's love of learning across multiple disciplines. This is a new program to the city, although we have funded programs in the past. Staff recommends funding the programs at a $7,500 level. The Meals on Wheels program provides meal delivery services for homebound seniors and people with disabilities. The city has funded Meals on Wheels for a number of years at the $15,000 level. Staff now recommends funding them at the $25,000 level. The Alliance for Regional Solutions provides year-round emergency shelter and services to homeless men and women through the Bridge Housing Network, which used to be known as the Winter Shelter Network. Interfaith Community Services acts as the fiscal sponsor for the Alliance, and funds will specifically support Haven House. Staff is proposing multiple capital improvements to be facilitated through city departments. Staff recommends keeping the same funding levels as last year for CDBG-funded code enforcement, grants to blocks, Project NEAT, and the graffiti removal program. These 4 programs address the city's neighborhood revitalization priority. CDBG-funded code enforcement continues funding for 2 part-time code enforcement officers to work in commercial and residential areas of CDBG-eligible census tracts. The officers address code issues relating to business licensing, illegal signage, and other appearance and compliance issues. Grants to Blocks funds multiple small neighborhood revitalization projects and right-of-way enhancement mini-grants associated with street improvement projects. The goal of Project NEAT is to improve the appearance and the safety of our neighborhoods through mediation, education, and fostering relationships with neighbors. Project NEAT works in Escondido's organized neighborhood groups to resolve potential code compliance issues, mostly with regard to yard maintenance and other appearance-related issues, before they reach the level of code compliance. The Graffiti Removal Project provides funding for graffiti removal in qualifying low-income census tracts and applies only to private properties. CDBG funds can be used to remove graffiti from private homes, garages, fences, and exterior surfaces of privately owned businesses. Staff is also recommending funding for several construction projects, including the final phase of the Tulip Street Improvement Project. This project will include full street improvements consisting of new curbs, gutters, retaining walls, sidewalks, streetlights, and new surfacing of the street on South Tulip between West 3rd and West Grand Avenue. Staff is requesting additional funds to expand the streetlight LED retrofit program in the Mission Park area, as well as many of our neighborhood groups. Replacement of high-pressure sodium streetlights with new energy-efficient LED lighting provides better lighting quality, which improves traffic safety and general security as residents walk, bicycle, or drive in the neighborhood, and is more cost-efficient. Staff is requesting funds to replace 8 existing streetlights with new LED lights and install 10 new LED streetlights on Washington Avenue between Rose and Harding Streets near Washington Park. This area is currently underlit in an area with many pedestrians and bicyclists. New LED lighting in this area will improve visibility and safety and will be more energy efficient and require less maintenance. And then we have an outside application. The Escondido Child Care Development Center has requested funding for the new wrought iron security fencing around the perimeter of the ECCDC's Child Care Center on West 9th Avenue.
This is the second year that the city anticipates receiving ESG funding. Based on the formula used for the CDBG program, HUD's estimated ESG allocation to the city of Escondido for fiscal year 2017-2018 will be $135,322. The main purpose of the ESG program is to provide prevention assistance to individuals and families who would otherwise become homeless and to provide assistance to rapidly rehouse persons who are homeless and those who are at risk of becoming homeless. There are 5 allowable components to the ESG program, including street outreach, essential services necessary to reach out to and meet the immediate needs of unsheltered persons by connecting them with critical non-facility-based services, emergency shelter, renovation, shelter operations, essential services, or relocation assistance, providing crisis and or temporary housing, homeless prevention, housing relocation and stabilization services to prevent individuals and households from moving into emergency shelters or homeless assistance systems, rapid rehousing, assistance moving people out of homelessness into permanent housing, and HMIS, required record keeping for recipients and subrecipients into the Homeless Management Information System database. Costs associated with shelter operations and outreach may not exceed, but may be less than 60% of funding of the fiscal year grant. In fiscal year 2015-2019 amended consolidated plan, the city adopted the following ESG priorities: homelessness prevention, rapid rehousing, and shelter operations. 100% of ESG funds used by either the city or a subrecipient must be matched with an equal amount of funds from non-federal source, either cash or in-kind contributions. A percentage of the ESG allocation may be set aside for the city's planning and administration. These funds may be shared with the subrecipient. ESG regulations limit this amount to no more than 7.5% of the annual grant. The remaining amount may be made available to be used for projects and activities that serve the homeless and those at risk of homelessness. This year, an RFP was released on March 9th with applications due April 12th. The City of Escondido has received 2 proposals from outside agencies for fiscal years 2017-2018 ESG funding. Escondido Education Compact for $125,000 to support the Building Bridges program, providing housing and case management to the homeless and at-risk youth populations, and Interfaith Community Services for $125,000 to support the Preventing and Reducing Homelessness in Escondido program for homeless prevention, rapid rehousing, emergency shelter, and HMIS data input. Interfaith is the recipient of Escondido's ESG allocation for fiscal year 2016-2017. Staff has reviewed the applications for completedness and eligibility. None of the applications specifically address the needs of homeless seniors. The compact application proposes a new program to address and re-engage homeless youth. Staff recommends funding a 1-year pilot program for $30,000. Staff recommends the remaining funds to be granted to Interfaith Community Solutions, who will provide shelter services, homelessness prevention, and rapid rehousing.
Okay. And finally, the Home Investment Partnership Program, or HOME program, is the largest federal block grant program for affordable housing. Under the HOME program, there are 4 permitted activities: development of affordable housing for home buyers and renters, home buyer assistance, home buyer rehabilitation assistance, and tenant-based rental assistance. In the last consolidated plan cycle, the city identified 4 home priorities: increasing home ownership opportunities, conserving the supply of existing ownership housing, expanding the stock of affordable rental housing, and increasing the length of stay in rental housing. Leveraging approximately $15.9 million in federal funds, the city has assisted 1,172 units between 1994 and 2016. Historically, the City of Escondido has used home funds predominantly to support home ownership efforts for lower income households. 85% of funds were used by the first-time home buyers, purchasing single-family homes, townhomes, and condominiums. The first-time home buyer program will continue to be the first priority for these funds. The city currently offers 1 program that addresses the priority to increase home ownership opportunities and to facilitate purchasing of homes, the Home Buyer Entry Loan Program, or HELP. By providing down payment assistance of up to 5% of the purchase price of a home, up to a maximum of $25,000. We assist residents earning up to 80% of the county area median income, which is currently $68,000 for a family of 4. Demand for the HELP program has ebbed with the market. During the current con plan cycle, we have assisted 12 families to become homeowners, including families who participated in the San Diego Habitat for Humanity project at Elm Street. The housing priority is to expand the supply of affordable rental housing, especially 3- and 4-bedroom units, and to promote neighborhood stability can be addressed by producing affordable multifamily rental housing that is safe, decent, and secure. These priorities shift people in our community from living in poverty housing, in overcrowded conditions, and in substandard dwellings to living in decent housing that they can afford and where they can become consumers in the community. The city has funded this priority with funds which would have been used to help first-time homebuyers to purchase their homes. In 2014, the City Council funded 3 rental projects with home funds and successor housing agency funds. Community Housing Works purchased and rehabilitated the 200-unit Cypress Cove apartments on Midway. UHC acquired and rehabilitated an older 44-unit apartment complex near the police and fire headquarters, and Solutions for Change has purchased a site on South Escondido Boulevard and is nearing completion on a new 33-unit development. Additionally, today, City Council has approved the commitment of funds for the acquisition and rehabilitation of 4 units on Astor Street by Interfaith Community Services. The home budget shown on the screen reflects an anticipated $458,655 allocation from HUD. This is an estimated allocation based on the federal budget. The city administrative costs and CHOTO set-aside funds are determined by mandatory formula. Adjustments will be made once final allocation amounts are announced. Substantial amendments will be brought back to City Council. Housing development funds will be used to support the first-time homebuyer program and the multifamily rental projects that have been approved. At this point, we ask City Council to open the public hearing to solicit and consider citizen input on the fiscal year 2017-2018 one-year action plan for the use of Community Development Block Grant, Emergency Solutions Grant, and Home Investment Partnership funds. We also ask Council to adopt Resolution number 2017-71, approving the CDBG, ESG, and home budgets, and authorizing the Director of Community Development and the City Clerk to execute contracts as appropriate, and to adopt Resolution number 2017-87, approving the submittal of the fiscal year 2017-2018 one-year action plan for the use of CDBG, ESG, and home funds to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. It is also requested that the City Council approve a budget adjustment in the amount of $287,783 from the CDBG unallocated fund to the Tulip Street Improvement Project. This concludes the staff report. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I have several speakers. Would you like to wait, or do you have any questions, Councilman? Speakers. Okay, we'll go to speakers. I will open the public hearing. I have several speakers. You have 3 minutes each. First is Greg Angel again.
Good evening again. It's a pleasure to be here, and I just want to speak on 2 items. First, the recommendation for CDBG support of the Alliance for Regional Solutions Bridge Housing Network. That includes the Haven House shelter that Interfaith Community Services operates, and give you some numbers on that. Through the first 10 months of this fiscal year, we have had 74 men and women move out of that shelter into their very own homes. That's not into another program, that's not into another shelter, that's signing a lease, moving into their own apartment. 74 men and women off the streets of our community into permanent housing. So I want to thank you all for your support and the support of this community in making that possible. Those numbers and those outcomes are replicated by our other shelter partners throughout the Alliance for Regional Solutions Bridge Housing Network, and your support will help that happen 365 days a year. Second, I want to report similarly on the impact and the results of your ESG support of Interfaith Community Services. This has been rapid rehousing and homeless prevention. Through the one-year grant, we, with your support, helped 9 families move into homes of their own. That includes 30 individuals. One of those families was a single mom with 3 kids. She had lived in her car for 2.5 months. They were escaping, she was escaping an abusive relationship, and with your support, we were able to help her move into an apartment of their very own. And one of the most recent updates was from her 10-year-old, who said he can't believe that their family is finally together. And most of all, he has a comfy bed of his very own. Thank you for helping them. Thank you for helping 13 other families who you helped prevent homelessness through that grant. That included 43 individuals. These investments make a life-changing impact for the people we serve. I want to thank you for your support. Again, thanks staff. And we have one of our staff members who's run this program, Jerry Bachman, in the back. I want to give her a public shout out and a thanks to our remarkable social workers who make all this happen. Thank you.
Greg, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Just, it's under a different name right now, the North County Alliance program.
Mm-hmm.
We have 9 cities coming together with 30 nonprofit organizations, and we have an MOU, an obligation. I think we cut down the funding, and now it's up to 43,000 from 36, and you asked for 50,000. How does that fit with the other cities? Are they paying their fair share? How does this alliance and the MOU that we have had together working, and what's the total budget for the homeless shelter under the North County Alliance?
So there are 6 shelters, 4 brick and mortar shelters, 2 rotational shelters the Alliance for Regional Solutions supports. The total budget for those 6 shelters is $1.5 million a year. All of the North County cities combined this year will put in about $250,000. Just a little ebb and flow based upon approvals still to come. Escondido comes in similarly to other cities. There are a lot of ways you can measure these things. One of the activities that the Bridge Housing Network in partnership with the city is exploring is examining all the ways that this city and all of the 9 cities are addressing homelessness, all the resources being provided, so that we can really come back to you and say, okay, here's what you're doing with CDBG, ESG, here are the programs you're operating here versus in other communities, so that we can really address this community-wide issue with a community-wide solution.
Okay, great, thank you. Javier Guerrero.
Thank you for having me here today. I'll just speak very briefly. And also, this is my first opportunity to speak to the City Council since really taking the job at the Children's Discovery Museum, which was 7 years ago this summer. So 7 years ago this summer when I came to the Children's Museum and we were at the Center for the Arts, our annual attendance in 2010 was 7,500 people for the year. Before leaving the center, it was 15,000. I'm pleased to report to you in 2016 that attendance grew to over 140,000 annually from the 7,500 when I started. This year we're tracking for about 150,000 annual visitors, of which about 40% of them are coming from Escondido.
What's the percentage?
Around 40% Escondido. And those other 60%, I'm happy to say, are coming and spending money in Escondido, right? They're coming from all over North County and San Diego. They come here, they spend time here. Many of the times it's their first time here. They eat in local restaurants, and they enjoy the community and get to know this fine city, as I have learned to grow. So today I'm here on behalf of the museum and just to acknowledge our CDBG grant that we're proposing for. I believe it was an ask of 15,000. It's 7,500 that's being presented here today. And that's going towards a scholarship fund for Access for All. So we've developed, since we've grown the museum and our space there across the street from the Center for the Arts, we've created something really special called Access for All, and it has 3 parts. It's our memberships, our admissions, and our scholarships. So we've created this great hands-on science, art, world culture experience for children and families with strong programming focused from preschool to 5th grade. And we want to make sure everybody has access. So we do that through the admissions that we make available through so many places. The memberships where, ECCDC here today, any student enrolled, we offer free membership. All of the elementary schools in Escondido have 10 memberships that they can check out and come to the museum for free. Escondido Public Library has 30 memberships that we've given them. Anyone can come for free. And there's many other things we've done. And we've gone out and raised lots of public funds to support our scholarship fund. That money is coming from all over San Diego County, from private funders, corporations, and individuals. So I just want to say it really means a lot for me and for the museum to share and say that we are also receiving money. And it's been since I started in 2011, since we last received funding from the city, really of any kind, to support what we do. So for us to be able to say that we do receive money from the city to support all that we're doing in the community. This year we're going to receive thousands. Last year our educational programs doubled, and now we have a mobile museum, so it's not just the kids coming to the museum, but we're going out in the community. I think that ends my time, but thank you very much, and thank you for considering, your consideration to support the museum.
Thank you, Javier. We appreciate it. Jesse Hanwit.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jessie Hanwit, and I live at 423 South Ivy Street. I moved to Old Escondido about 2 years ago, and I did so because I fell in love with Escondido. I love historic houses, And I love the fact that it's a walking neighborhood and that it's easy to walk downtown. But since I've lived there, I've found that I'm reluctant to walk downtown with a friend in the evening to have dinner, see a movie, because it's so dark when it's time to walk home that we're frightened. And so either we don't go or we drive, which we would rather not do. So I want to thank you in advance for considering street lighting for Old Escondido. I think it's something really important. Thank you.
Good, thank you. All right, next is Carol Ray.
Mayor and City Council members, this time I'm Carol Ray, President of Old Escondido, and I really want to thank staff and anybody who made it happen that this issue, the lighting issue, got into this budget. And we know that it's a step one. It's only the beginning preparation in order to get the lighting, and I'm hopeful that the money will be coming fairly soon to carry out the project. It only took 100 and some years, and the wait was worth it if we can get our lighting. So I thank you for a yes vote on that budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
You mean the
Jim.
oil lamps don't work anymore?
No, we're running low.
Jim Wise.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Jim Weiss from the Escondido Community Child Development Center. This is Amir Aravani, one of our board members. We just wanted to take a minute and thank you for your continued support. This year, ECCDC at the 2 locations will serve over 500 children, provide services so their families, so their parents can go out and work and get a job and be a self-sustaining family. So we appreciate all of your support on that. We appreciate staff's recommendation for the funding for the CDBG. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a question. You have had an issue with the state about 4 or 5 years ago. I know before you came on board. Is that resolved with the state?
It is. Yes, effective June 1st, it was resolved. So we're thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yes, question. 1 second. Jim?
Sorry, I have
Yeah.
a question. I'm kind of remembering that we've given money to fencing in the past, so
That was at our
different
Lincoln
location?
Center on East Lincoln. This is
Okay.
on the our oldest center on 9th Avenue.
Okay.
And yeah, that's
So it's a
badly needed some more security fencing on that.
Okay, it seemed familiar to me, so I thought maybe we'd already done this, so.
A few years ago, we gave 25,000
Okay,
for a
thank you.
gate
East Lincoln.
or
Correct.
safety
For
issues.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. I will close the public hearing and bring it back to a council member discussion and action. First, council member Morasco.
Okay, a couple of quick questions in regards to public service, the bridge housing, formerly known as winter shelter. Solutions for Change did not have any application this year?
They did not.
Okay, thank you. Then second question is in regards to the available funds you have allocated in your proposal between Interfaith and Escondido Education Compact. Do those funds have to be allocated this year, or can any of those funds be held over for a year pending other proposals?
We do need to allocate them in this.
They have to be allocated, and there's no way to apply anything towards senior.
We didn't get any applications for anybody dealing specifically with senior populations, while Compact specifically addresses issues in the homeless youth, the 16 to 24-year-old range. Interfaith does address issues in the full scope of the community.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, so we have to allocate the funds this year, and if those are the only two, those are our only choice. We have no other way of going outside those two, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Staff report says that the city can also administer those funds, so we don't have to give them to a nonprofit. That's what the staff report says. I had a question about that, but
yeah.
So if we wanted to do something, from what I read, it sounds like we could do it ourselves.
Is that true?
Yes, we could. We would have to build an entire program to do it, but yes, we
I'm just
could.
curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we may not want to, but it is a possibility.
Okay.
We would also have to come up with the one-to-one match within the city from non-federal sources.
Well, and I guess the concern I have about this one is you stated 30,000 to the compact, and I've been a supporter of compact for a long time, but you say it's a pilot program.
Correct.
And we have a proven successful program.
What we really liked about the compact application was the focus on a growing population that's disengaged, and compact has a very strong record of re-engaging these folks.
Youth at risk.
And it's a population that doesn't traditionally access help from interfaith, but they do access help from compact. So we saw it as an opportunity to, yes, a little bit of experimenting, but to reach this group that's very difficult to reach, to a group that is having a lot of issues.
And do you look at these different groups as far as their administration, whether or not they're top-heavy on administration or not, how the funds are allocated across the board, or you only look at specific programs?
We were specifically looking at the programs, but like I said, we do see kind of we do ask for financial statements and make sure that it is a healthy organization. We're trying to make sure that, again, they're not spending all of their money on fundraising and big parties that don't have good returns. So we didn't specifically look at those factors, but we did look at the overall health of the organizations.
Okay, thank you. Couple of comments, and I know we're going to probably have a little bit of give and take, negotiate here and there. Personally, in that particular case, I really appreciate staff's analysis and that recommendation. I lean more towards allocating the full amount to interfaith, but that's just my personal preference in that particular area. Under uncapped capital improvements and other neighborhood realization activities, I would really like to see code enforcement and graffiti removal both at 100,000 with minor changes here and there throughout. I completely support ECCDC, and I have my numbers written out how I'd like to see it. Perhaps a little bit of a reduction on the streetlight LED retrofit program, and a little bit of a reduction on the Washington Avenue Harding Street lighting. A little bit, because I would like to see a little bit more go towards code enforcement and graffiti removal. So if anyone's interested, I have my numbers all figured out to the penny.
Okay.
That will work just perfect.
I'm sure we can work
I make
it.
one suggestion?
Yes.
The Washington Avenue, we've funded things partially in the past, but that did come from, we had engineering do a budget for us. So if you were to reduce the Washington Avenue, we would not be able to complete that in this year. We would have to kind of get it up to a certain point, but we wouldn't be able to bid the project.
Based upon what engineering has told you it will cost?
Yes.
So we don't have any hard costs yet?
They have a fair amount of experience with similar projects. They're going out to bid.
No offense, I'm just...
But we can take it from the LED program, the whole amount.
Yeah, I would suggest fudging with the LED rather than the Washington.
You don't understand. We can't let Gallo get 100%.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll get to this. I think we can figure it out. Councilmember Gallo. Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you for Washington Avenue.
Right.
Because if you recall, what was it, about a month ago, I did my own survey and found out how dark that street is. And thank you for adding more lights and changing the existing lights, which are like 15-watt bulbs. It is a pretty busy area. You got Washington Park there and all that kind of stuff, so thank you for that. I'm just going to throw it has nothing to do with the budget, but as far as the lighting for Old Escondido neighborhood, I would like us to start considering period lighting, maybe similar to what's on Grand Avenue downtown, because it is a historic district, and rather than have these overhead, sticks, maybe something that actually fits in with the historic nature of the area. is this the right time? You always correct me every year on the mobile home subsidies and the senior rental subsidy.
That is paid for using our successor housing agency funds, so that budget gets approved at the June 14th meeting.
Okay, I'm always wrong. Okay. I always think it's this meeting and it's not. Project NEAT. It has nothing to do with the budget, but I'd like to, when you discuss with neighborhood groups, could you have either a police presentation or something from the police department regarding our ordinance on parking a vehicle over 72 hours on a public street, having unregistered vehicles on a public street, okay? The city is loaded with them. I'm really getting tired of calling the PD for different violations that I see. And the one that, okay. Do we have any idea what the total amount of money we're spending on homeless issues?
Yeah, I can. We have $2.8 million. I think that's the latest figure I got from staff.
From just from the city?
The last 2 years, yes. Between the transitional housing with the solutions for change, the interfaith, and I think that's the latest figures, and the 125,000 to interfaith, I think we added them together to be about 2.8 million.
It's absolutely amazing. It's like we're planting a garden. The more we spend, the more we get. I mean, I don't get it. You would think that our homeless situation would be decreasing, but it's not.
So $2.1 million of that is for the Solutions for Change housing, so that's a 55-year solution.
Okay, so that's, okay, let's forget, well, okay. So reduce that down, okay. I'm talking about a yearly thing, because I see all these numbers in here, Education Compact, ICS does a great job. I love what you guys did with Haven House and Merle's Place and stuff like that. But we're allocating all this money to all these different organizations, and there are so many different organizations. I mean, if we could just coordinate it all into one group, one committee, you know, one chairman, and take care of the, anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Councilmember Masson.
Yeah, thank you. Gosh, I had a couple questions. So the streetlight program, the LED retrofit program, there's two of them. There's one that's Washington Park. Some are new lights, some are retrofits. Mm-hmm. And the other program, I understand, are all retrofits, or are they new lights?
So the Washington Avenue is kind of half and half.
Okay.
New and retrofits. The streetlight LED retrofit program is all retrofits. Some of our neighborhoods would be reasonably well lit if there was with LED.
The new LED lighting.
But some of our neighborhoods aren't particularly well lit. What we decided to try was retrofitting huge swaths, and then we'll be able to really see where new lighting is needed.
So, and is that in the old Escondido neighborhood area? Because I'm looking at, you know, Hickory and Mission Park, and that's not old Escondido neighborhood.
That is not old Escondido neighborhood.
But I think they were speaking to that.
So we are asking for an increase in our public service budget for our neighbor-to-neighbor program. Mm-hmm. And
okay.
Part of that will be trying to plan for the old Escondido neighborhood's lighting, because they do not want, nor is appropriate, the standard engineering solutions. So that's going to be figuring out what the appropriate lighting is, phasing for it, and preparing to do that project.
Good, and I agree with what Mr. Gallo said. I mean, we need appropriate lighting for the appropriate neighborhood. Okay, thank you. I don't mind pushing this around. What I see is in my opinion, not enough money going to youth. I'd like to see more money go to youth, and I was going to rob from the street lighting budgets to throw some. I mean, I could see, you know, we could take the 200 grand or Tulip Street Improvement Program. We could take that money and build a skate spot for youth at Washington Park underneath our new lights. So I just wanted to throw out there, start a conversation. We spend a lot of money on sidewalks and streets and in neighborhoods that need it, but I think kids need stuff too, and I just would hope that maybe in the future we can bring more balance to the kids and get them things to do instead of graffiti and whatnot. And I do like the fact of bumping up code enforcement and graffiti removal. I think that's important. But again, I'd like to see a little bit more focus on youth if we could.
Okay.
And one more thing. We did some work for ECCDC recently. I did some pro bono work and got paid. I just want to disclose that, so for whatever happens here. And I just want to ask Mike if I'm okay here.
You are, Mr. Massey. You and I spoke about that, and as I understand it, none of these funds will be used for past work performed. You don't have any open contracts with them, and you don't have any future contracts that would include that money.
Okay.
Good.
You are safe for a change.
I think that was it. Thanks.
Excellent. Councilmember Diaz.
Thank you. Okay, so we always wish we had more money. So there's always a chance that we don't fully fund the applicants that that do need our support. 3 minutes? Yeah, great. I waited. So about the street lighting program to do with Old Escondido, I'd also like that work to include discussion of lighting the alleys or alley access, alley visibility, because I've been talking about those alleys for years. They have a lot of potential to be a nice part of the neighborhood, but sometimes they just are not very inviting or even very well maintained. So if we are going to do lighting or just kind of evaluation of that area, that we also take the opportunity to talk about the alleys. Absolutely, we need to get some lighting, and honestly, we need some sidewalks. There's parts of Old Escondido that don't have any. So when you talk about the neighbor-to-neighbor program and doing outreach, can you do general outreach on multiple topics, or did you intend to only talk about lighting?
We could do multiple topics, but what's emerging is that lighting is the number one concern. So we wanted to start addressing that, try to do some incremental change. As you mentioned before, the future of the federal funds is iffy. So we want to make sure we're designing projects that we can complete. That's part of the reason we're also really trying hard to fully fund things so that we can start and complete things rather than starting and not being able to complete them.
Okay. And then on the LED, in this paragraph, there's a side question. Last council meeting, we were talking about cell phone tower lighting or antennas and things of the such. And I remember from past retrofit efforts that part of the reason we use LED bulbs is now because they offer better light and they offer us energy efficiency and savings. But it came out in that discussion that we pay a flat rate per light pole. So, and here again, it is in the staff report that, we get more energy savings and they're more cost efficient. Do we actually realize energy savings when we retrofit these lights?
Yes, the SCG&E rate is based on the type of light and the wattage of the light. So LED fixtures are charged at a lower rate.
Okay, so we know which of our poles are of...
Yes, and whenever we do retrofits, we're quick to let SDG&E know that they should change our bills so that we can pay less for those fixtures that have been retrofitted.
Okay, excellent. I was concerned that maybe we thought we were saving money, but we weren't. Then I want to talk about the senior housing subsidy that Ed brought up earlier. We have gutted that rental subsidy program for seniors to only the lowest of the lowest incomes, and that eliminated a lot of support in the form of a rental subsidy for seniors living in apartments. I believe it was $75, and for seniors living in mobile home parks, it was $100, or the other way around.
It turned out to be $100 for mobile homes, except for a couple of parks that were grandfathered at the $75 rate, and $125 for apartments.
We did, and then we lost the redevelopment housing money that we were using. But it seems to me that this money can also be used for that, because maybe this can be administered through interfaith. We have seniors who are on absolute fixed incomes, and they can't just go out and get a job or generate more money. And every time, as the rent review board, we raise the rents on mobile home units, we hear these stories over and over. I have to choose between medicine, food, and rent. And we're not supporting those seniors through this rental subsidy program the way that we used to. So there's a lot of them that are making those horrible choices. So it seems to me that there's flexibility in these dollars to help with that specific senior population. I'd like to ask if we can work that out with Interfaith to be able to manage those applications or manage that process so that our city staff doesn't have to do it. But you're still helping. So it's homeless prevention, because what are you going to do with a 90-year-old homeless person who is going to be eventually at the shelter or somewhere horrible? So I'd really like to consider that. About the ESG money specifically, if some portion of it can go that direction. There is a significant increase in homeless youth. It's a kind of a challenging issue to address. So I'm curious about the education compact efforts. I don't know what exactly they propose to do for $30,000, if it was hiring staff or if they're going to use their existing staff to go, connect with these youth.
It's actually a really interesting project, and we were concerned that going from kind of no beds to serving about 100, which was their initial application, would tax the program. So that's why we had suggested kind of a smaller amount to see whether or not they can get their feet wet. But what they're looking at doing is a combination of working with their existing programs, hiring a housing counselor. They have MOUs with several churches for the church members to act as mentors. So they'll background check those individuals and then pair the homeless youth with kind of a mentor that they will be living with for short periods of time as they find other stabilized situations. They'll also be working with Community Housing Works to see whether or not they can, to kind of formulate some more permanent housing for some of these youth. They're trying to do, where it's possible, missing a word, reuniting families who can get back together, knowing that not all families are healthy families for anybody, but reuniting families where they can and finding real solutions for these kids to go forward rather than get stuck and be mired.
So $30,000 doesn't go very far when you're trying to do all of that stuff.
Right. And that's what the pilot program will address about 20 to 25 people during the course of the year is what they're expecting to be able to do. Okay.
So I'm torn between investing it where I know it's going to be serving people and trying to help youth, but I think $30,000 is just not enough to do what they think they can do with it. But I don't want to. So let me keep thinking about that. And then about the capital improvement dollars and the ones that you wanted to max out some of these at $100,000 dollar amounts and take from the lighting program. This is just an estimate of how much we're going to be allocated at this point.
Correct.
We could get more. So I would like to propose that we leave these dollar numbers alone and that if we get more, they go specifically first into the order of things that you would like to maximize. That way we're not sort of pinching at what the project budgets that have been established as necessary in order to complete these things. I understand what you're trying to do, but when we start moving money from one thing to another, then we can't get anything completely done?
No, disagree.
What it seems like. So I would just like to say, leave the numbers alone, and when we have a real allocation, that we first fill to your expectation the code enforcement and graffiti program. And then the fair housing line, the $34,000 under administration, is that our contract with our fair housing advocate that we and is that still North County Lifeline?
No.
Okay, who do we have?
It's our first year with San Diego Legal Aid. So they applied to do a second year. So we changed last year.
We changed last year. Okay. I get a lot of questions about housing issues, and I always say, well, we have a housing advocate.
And there are brochures at the housing counter, at the Housing and Neighborhood Services counter. There's also information online at both the housing webpage, the neighborhood services webpage, and we have a fair housing webpage as well to try to get information out to as many people as we can.
Okay.
But we're happy to provide you with some of our brochures as well if you want some.
I'll stop by and grab some, and then I'll look up their website. So I'd be really curious how we're going to resolve this issue between interfaith and not between them, but a resource distribution to interfaith and education compact for those those goals because they're all noble.
Yeah, well, my recommendation for interfaith was 100,000 to interfaith and the rest to compact.
Oh, I thought you were talking about 100,000 to code enforcement.
Oh, no, I
That's-
started talking about that page.
That the page on code enforcement and graffiti removal, you wanted to bump them up to 100 and take the money from the lighting. That's where I was talking about that.
But again, based on what you're saying, I say we bump it up, and then if there is addition, we backfill the lighting. That way, there's only one light item that we have to worry about. It's the lighting issue. We can backfill that if we wind up with more. But we've already allocated then firmly the 100,000 for code enforcement and for graffiti removal.
I guess, is the code enforcement, the 92,000, is that a salary or what are we?
It's essentially two part-time.
So would the $100,000 rate, would it just get us more hours? Or are we giving them a raise?
No.
All right, so what would it do if we,
It would provide more additional hours.
more hours of the same staff? So, okay, I just wanted to understand what the money would go to. Okay, well, I'm still torn over the ESG dollars, so let me keep thinking about it.
Everything that has been proposed to funding or request for funding has a lot of merits. But folks, we have $1.5 million, and we have to make the best out of this. And the priorities for the councils are very clear. We have the 4 items, but I think the public safety, the homeless, and the appearance of the city has become an issue. You council members, the staff, you receive complaints from the public. Homeless, the image and appearance of the city, the graffiti, we cannot live with that. We have to clean up our neighborhood. And also the lighting, the public safety in the neighborhood. And those 2 code enforcement officers, they work on the urban core. They have to be designated to that low-income areas in the city. So we are trying to help and clean up the neighborhood. I don't have any problem with the other funding, the home funding, and the funding for the interfaith and the Escondido Education Compact. Every money we get, we're working with our partners here in the city to solve that problem. I would like to put more money. I'm fine with the 20% administration cap on the CDBG. That's exactly 20%. But the rest of it, I'd like to see more long-term impact on our neighborhood. When you put street lights on a neighborhood and make it safer, when you put sidewalks, you make it safer. I would like to see that priorities really. I think most of the proposals reflect the council's priority. But before we add more, I think we have a couple of items. We added more programs. I would like to see us finish the existing things. And I'm glad to see that Tulip Street Improvement Project, that includes, the street improvement includes new curbs, gutters, retaining walls, sidewalks, street lights, and new surfacing of the streets on South Tulip Street between West 3rd Avenue and West Grand Avenue. We've been working on that street for a long, long time. Now we are down to the last 2 blocks, and I'm glad to see that completed. This is a safety issue, and most of these monies are going to the urban core because of the census we have it, like the home funds and everything else. I would like to see more money in the code enforcement and the graffiti removals. I don't know how if Learn to Swim is a very important program, but I don't know if we can serve 50 or 60 people under that program. If we can put it in cleaning up the neighborhoods and making the neighborhood safer, would have a more lasting impact on the neighborhoods. We can restore it when we have funds. Other cities, they spend most of the money, if not all the money, on capital improvements, because that would have a long-lasting impact on the neighborhoods. I've spent 8 hours on the Flower Street and the neighborhoods and took pictures. I don't want to show them publicly, but we need help. Code enforcement needs help. And according to the Escondido Education Compact, they did a survey on behalf of the city. They told us the the majority of the people support our police. And the top two issues for the urban core, where we have, the census, is crime and appearance. They told us that. We receive complaints based on these things. I don't know if the council believes that the $24,500 from the Learn to Swim can be added to the graffiti removal and code enforcement as well, on top of the $100,000 that Councilmember Morasco is suggesting. I will go with that, but I would like to see more money in these two programs, and I would like to keep the Washington Avenue street lighting as it is. If we need more money, we can take it from the street LED, because we have lights already. So whatever suggestion you make, I'm fine with taking the money from the street LED and pumping it up to the 100,000 level for both. And I'm also open-minded about taking the 24,500 and also adding the code enforcement and graffiti to 150,000 each, so we can hire one extra person on both, so we have more. Keeping our neighborhood safe has a long-lasting program. And as far as the seniors is concerned, we have added a lot of money on this. We have the senior transportation, we have the senior nutrition, we have the senior care, and we have increased the program for the Meals on Wheels as well. So we continue to serve the senior population with more money and more funding as well. Everything is important, but we would like to see that to address the council priority of public safety and in our neighborhood. So whatever your suggestion, your recommendation is, we'll move forward by shifting a little bit of money. I'm fine with the other funding. We can move up to 150,000 for code enforcement and graffiti. So we're going to need about 60,000. We can use the Learn to Swim, or if you wish to keep that program, we can take it from the street LED lighting, because the neighborhoods are lit already. So between a regular light and an LED, I'd rather improve the entire neighborhood.
So public service funds can be moved down to the uncapped capital funds?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so.
It is possible. The 20% for public service is a cap.
Right.
And the capital improvements are uncapped funds.
Right.
So it can be done, or we can shift the LED project around a little bit.
How many kids do we help through Learn to Swim? Because we've had this program long-standing for years.
So recreation is here this evening, and they can speak to that.
No pressure, Loretta.
Loretta McKinney, Director of Library and Community Services. We serve 150 kids that get 4 sessions each. And may I say that keeps them from drowning.
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, they don't learn to swim.
Sold. Okay. So, Lo, let's keep the Learn to Swim.
Thank you.
And
as somebody who I didn't learn to swim until I was older, and I can hardly swim now, I really value that opportunity for kids that wouldn't otherwise have it. So I'm glad we're keeping it.
So now the only option is to bump the, yes.
I don't know.
Okay, let's go back and one more round to refine the process.
Thanks. I had a question on the design, the LED savings. Do we have a number or a percentage on that when we convert from our traditional light to an LED light? What that is?
I don't know what that is offhand, but I can certainly get that information to you. It is
I guess
substantial.
it would add up
It is
over the
substantial,
city.
yes. It is substantial. I'd be happy to pull those numbers in.
Okay, cool. And then the second thing is on the Tulip Street improvements. Is that in design? Is that for construction? Where are we in that process, and as far as that goes?
So it is the last phase of the project, and it is in design. It is not fully funded yet, but we're so obviously when it becomes fully funded, then we'll put it to the top of our list to make sure that we're ready to build it when all the funds are there.
So is it funded fully for design and not funded for construction, or are we still looking for more design money?
So we have, one of the reasons why we're putting the initial planning for the Old Escondido into our public service budget is because any money that we spend on any sort of planning that does not end up with a construction project has to be returned back to our CDBG account. So it will become a general fund obligation. So the 80% drawings that we have, we would have to pay for in other ways. So we are strongly recommending that we fully fund the TULIP project and go on with the TULIP project.
So the 400 fully funds the project?
Correct.
For design?
For construction.
And construction.
And construction.
Yes.
Okay,
Done.
yeah, that's all I need to know, because when we start meddling with these numbers, that kind of data we don't know unless we know, right? So, we're going to take away some street lighting or take away whatever from wherever pot. I need to understand, I think we as a council need to understand what that implication has on staff and the program that you guys have put together, because you have the knowledge and skills to put the stuff together. We're just policymakers, right? So that's very helpful. So obviously that is what it is, and I can't rob from that to get my skate spot. So that's my other concern. We start saying, okay, we're going to throw another bump code enforcement up or bump these other things up and take from elsewhere. What does that impact have on elsewhere, and how do we mitigate that, or do we have to mitigate?
So the project that has the most flexibility is the LED retrofit project. The more money we have in it, the larger of an area we can retrofit, but that is really where I would suggest we slough from.
Maybe we should visit that next year and look at these priorities.
No, we have great priorities. We
I
just
know.
don't have enough money for all.
I know.
And I want to push more for you.
I understand. I understand, yes. Mr. Morasco, last word and emotion, hopefully.
Last word is, my only recommendation is that we, again, switch 10,000 each to code enforcement and to graffiti removal from the street LED program. And then the other proposal I had is we give 100,000 to interfaith and the other 25,173 to Education Compact. Those are my ideas and thoughts. Otherwise, I'd support staff's recommendation.
I'm fine with that. I can support that.
Okay, that'd be my proposal then.
Okay, I have a motion by Council Member Diaz.
No, sorry, I'm just trying to talk.
Okay, all right. So let's go with, I need a second, we can discuss it.
Oh.
Okay, so Councilmember Morasco made the motion. Okay, you want to wait? Okay.
I had a question on.
Okay. All right, well,
Do you need a motion or a second to?
we can discuss it. We can discuss it after the after
If
the
it doesn't
second.
get a second, it dies.
Right.
And then we can keep talking and try again.
I'll withdraw my name.
I will second the motion to keep the discussion going. Okay.
You can have discussion.
Okay, there we go. Okay, now discussion. Councilmember Masson. Councilmember Diaz, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have the same level of discomfort I think Councilmember or Deputy Mayor Masson has with tinkering with the numbers that staff have already really thoroughly explored. And I really feel like if we get more money, we can double back and do those extra things that we want to do. But, to take, I love interfaith and I love compact, but to move $5,000 around, I'm not sure really accomplishes one thing or another, right? So it's already going to be hard to try and figure out how to solve youth homelessness with 30,000. 25,000 is not going to make it any easier. So I would say what I'm torn between is just giving it all to interfaith and having compact come back with something more robust that I need to understand. But I also like this idea that we're piloting and trying and letting them prove whether or not this can be done. And there's not a lot of work going on in homeless youth advocacy and solving that problem. And that's a different population than your older homeless, chronically homeless population. So again, I get down to the point where I think let's just not tinker with these numbers. And if in fact we do get a higher allocation, at that point we can double back and support. Everything's important. So I'm not arguing about whether something is more important than the other. It's more about the level of detail that I assume and hope that staff have spent the time and thinking this through to propose it to us in the first place.
We are the policy maker, and that's why we're trying to set the priorities. And Escondido Education Compact has been a partner with the city for 25, 30 years, I think. They deal with the youth at risk, and I think that's what your goal is. Escondido Education, all the proposed organization for funding are trustworthy. We have worked with them for years and years. Everybody is worth things. $5,000 is not going to make much difference, so I'm going to support the motion. But yes, Escondido Education Compact, they work with the city, they work with Interfaith, but they focus on the youth at risk. And I think there isn't a more important issue than get these guys to have an education rather than joining the gangs. So every program is important. We would like to see the skate park maybe done, next year. But this year, I think the priorities are very tight, and I would support the motion of Mike Morasco. John Masson, you want to have the last word, other than the skate park?
I don't know if it's the last word. I think we're kind of trying to negotiate up here is what I think we're doing, right? I support the motion. I like the fact that we're shifting the money from the street exchange program into code enforcement and graffiti removal. Is $20K enough? I don't know. I'm assuming we can spend the 10 in each category efficiently, and that'll go a long way. Maybe we need more and less new light replacements. I would tend to go that way versus I'm kind of with Ms. Diaz on the moving the 5,000 from compact to interfaith. I mean, it's like I'd rather just go, let's try this pilot program, commit to it or not. If we don't want to commit to it, I'd rather give it all to interfaith. So again, I think staff has done a job vetting these things and making a suggestion on which way we ought to go. I'd prefer to leave that stuff as it is and really work to puff up our image and appearance portions from the street lighting.
Would Councilmember Morasco accept additional money for graffiti and code enforcement? That's what John Masson is.
Well, I don't know what the number is. I mean, what do we want?
Let's make 25 each more, and maybe it will give us a little bit more of a additional part-time job. I'd like to see more.
We want to make an impact, right? That's the
right.
reason. These little dollar movements are they're good.
I agree.
If we want to move something, let's move it so we can have an impact and get something done.
I think 10,000 is better than 90, but I think 25,000 probably it will have more impact.
What do we get for?
It's kind of funny. I'll give you $10,000 more of graffiti removal. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, to some extent, when you put money, you're establishing priorities. So I'm sitting here listening. Okay, what are their priorities? And so I hear that, and we will use the money to the very best way we can. I can't sit here and say you'll get X out of this dollar amount.
Mm-hmm.
You will certainly get a full report on every dollar you spend, and then you can break that down into, well, these came from here and these came from here, so you'll be able to look back at where you allocated your dollars and whether or not you were able to fulfill your priorities.
But the more money, the more effective these two programs will be.
Certainly, as long as I have any say over it, the more money you put into it, the more you're going to get out of the programs, yes.
Okay, Mr. Morasco.
I'm willing to withdraw the motion and hear another motion.
Okay.
And because what I'm hearing, I could probably support as well.
Okay, Mr. Masson.
Oh, okay, so then I would, when you say 25, is that 25 in each category?
Each, yeah.
Then I would make that motion. Then we take 50,000 out of the streetlight retrofit program, split it evenly between.
Oh no, from the LED.
We already have a motion on the table, right?
Right.
You have to vote now to have it fail.
No, 1 second.
Robert's rules.
You can have a substitute motion and vote on the substitute motion first.
But the maker has to make the substitution.
It doesn't matter. Anybody can make a substitute motion.
Anybody can make a substitute motion.
Yes.
And so then you make a second motion to override your first motion, but you need a new motion.
Defeat what's on the table now. Let's start.
I said I'd be willing to do that. It doesn't matter to me.
All right.
It's not the hill I'm on.
So you have to unpush your button?
I can unpush my button, except it's already.
Okay. So you can make a substitute motion.
So I would make a substitute motion.
Right.
That moves
$50,000
from the streetlight LED retrofit program and allocates it evenly between graffiti removal and code enforcement.
And leave everything else the same.
And leave everything else the same.
Okay. Now I need.
And if we get more money,
it'll go back.
We can backfill the street lighting
first. And then talk about all the extra stuff we can do with.
Yes.
That's not germane to this whole discussion, though.
Right. It's different, but we'll visit that next year.
What does Germany have to do with this, Ed?
Your project is intact, Ed. All right. I have a substitute motion.
I don't know how.
He did it by John Masson. I need a second for the substitute motion to move forward. Okay. I have a second by Councilmember Gallo All in favor of the substitute motion, please vote.
5 yes
Okay.
votes.
We're good.
That's how it looks like when we're negotiating. Usually it's 4-1 and it's over, right?
Guys, I'm losing control here. One sec. Okay, we're gonna move on.
Never in control.
We're gonna move on. Okay, thank you. Future agenda, any items, council? Council members, subcommittee reports.
Sorry, I was too slow on your future agenda.
Okay, there we go.
Next week, we're talking about the budget.
Uh-huh.
And I was just sharing a little earlier today with city manager that as much as I like some of the improvements to our budget document, I also feel like there's a significant new deficiency. In the past, you could look at any department and see all of the positions listed by salary. So city manager, what he was making, the assistant city manager, all the administrative staff. Now all of the salaries are lumped into one line. So if we're paying one staff member $1 million and everybody else nothing, you can't tell anymore. The detail's gone.
The other information is available on the website.
Well, but you know, it helps to have a functioning document when we're talking about budget next week.
The real issue, I guess, is whether you want to see it in the budget. Certainly over time, one thing that's changed is public employee salaries are way more transparent, and a lot of those we do put on the web. And one thing we can do, if you want, depending on what level of employee or what category, we can always produce salary information.
Okay.
So that's not a problem.
All right.
But, I mean, we appreciate, I'll pass that on to the finance folks. Take a look at that in terms of the overall picture.
In terms of formatting year to year, that's an expectation I've had. You know, I look to see where the new positions are and where the differences are and who's getting significant raises or where we're consolidating positions. And I can't do that with this document anymore. So I feel like I'm missing an oversight tool. So, but I like a lot of the new features, but I wanted to bring that up now so that when we talk about it next week, maybe staff can come prepared with those details.
Okay, Councilmember Gallo.
Turn me off.
Okay, there we go. I did it in purpose.
Okay. Borders Committee had a busy couple of weeks. Marcela Solorio, the Consul General from Mexico, got a promotion. She is now an ambassador. Good for her. She's only been in the job 3 months. We had a nice presentation from our fire chief might appreciate this, from CAL FIRE Border Agency Fire Council. I wasn't even aware that they had this kind of thing, where they patrol the southern end of the county over the border, and they work with the Mexican Fire Department. And we actually give them equipment that they don't have so that they can assist, because fires jump over walls, you know, I mean, that's just the nature of a fire. Well, you guys know better than I do. What was the other thing? Okay. Calexico West Port of Entry. I didn't realize how much traffic is going to and from Calexico, but they're adding 10 inspection lanes, northbound inspection lanes, and 6 southbound lanes. Unbelievable. And they're going to start. They started construction in November 15. Going to be done next year. I just want to throw one thing out here. I always like to see what our Sacramento people are doing. And this is an interesting bill that was proposed. It's H.R. 8. It's called Wear Red Day, which recognizes February 3rd, 2017 as Wear Red Day in California. That's pretty important stuff.
This is under what report now?
Yeah.
He's going through his mail.
Yeah. And Water Authority, we're going over our budget for next year, $1.6 billion. Pretty hefty budget. And we're taking care of the CalPERS liability. They're pretty interesting. They found $9.5 million in savings from filling the San Vicente Reservoir, which cost that much less. So they took that money to pay down the liability from $40 million to $30.5 million. And what does this do? In the future, it does affect your water rates, which will keep the increases down. Don't ever expect water rates to go down, okay? But stuff like things like this help keep the water rates in control. And speaking of water rates, we're going to have a public hearing on June 22nd down at the San Diego County Water Authority in Kearney Mesa to discuss the rates that would take effect in January of 2018. So if you're really concerned about water rates, I guess you should stop in at the meeting. Home Depot with their home shows, that was pretty cool. Pardon me?
When's the next water tour?
Oh, I don't know. They haven't. You probably can go to the website and check that. Yeah. Public hearing on the 22nd. Desal sales. Okay. AAA credit rating now. We're doing very well. What else I got here? Water Authority. More stuff. 1.6. That was answered. And Borders and North County Transit. Well, our meeting is next week.
Okay. Councilmember Marasco.
Oh, wait a minute. Just one more comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like staff or whatever to consider going paperless on the agendas. I mean, part of this week's agenda item 8, we have 102 pages of ownership. Now, did we really need to see the owners in the landscape districts? Seriously?
That's a good point. I think on Sandag we do it on demand.
102 pages showing all the owners in all the landscape districts. Now, why is that important to me? What do I care who they are? Okay? But it's part of the, that's why this book is so big and so heavy.
Okay. All right, Councilmember.
Well, North County Transit goes paperless. Sandag is paperless. San Diego County Water Authority is paperless. I mean, we have presentations on the dais when we meet. Okay. I was going to say picture shows, but slide presentations, et cetera, like that. We get those. But I think we really
good point.
Kind of think about it.
A number of years ago, we tried to unroll the iPads, and I say that as I'm sitting here with a Surface Pro. If council would like to explore that, we'd be happy to look at it for you. Yeah, we're glad
I read all mine on my iPad.
Yeah, okay.
I do too, but the problem is
I put my notes on here, but yeah.
Yeah, I had.
iPad or Surface Pro I could write on for my notes. Any questions? That would be ideal.
I think maybe on demand, Sandag on demand, if you want to have both. I think most of the board members are online.
Excellent ideas. Let us play around. We'll come up with those.
Okay.
And a few more and
The only guy on the transit board who has hard copy is Bill Horn.
Bill Horn, yes. Okay.
And as long as the paper that we save can go towards a warm meal for the
Yeah.
council.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
No, the only announcement I have is
Okay.
save the date Escondido Resource Recovery grand opening or ceremonial opening of their new facility, Road to Zero Waste. I was hoping that we'd be able to have our city council VIP tour prior to that, but maybe if we put a bug in Jeff and
June 30th. June 30th.
yeah, I've been in touch with them for setting up a tour date. Do you have some, June 30th?
June 30th is the grand opening
that's
of the
when
facility.
the opening is.
Yeah, I've talked with them about a tour. I think
Okay.
you should show up on your calendar very quickly.
Absolutely.
Great.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Sandag, we had a joint meeting between regional planning and transportation. Great meeting. And the significant item on this is the Transnet Smart Growth Incentive Program and Active Transportation Grant Program funding. Now we created new criteria. Okay, now we have new criteria to use the funding. We have funded almost 100 projects at about $50 million cost. A good example of that is the Maple Plaza. Our own Maple Plaza qualified several years ago for that project. We paid $1.2 million, and the city paid more.
They're showing stuff up there. We don't have it here. What's the deal?
Okay, it doesn't show here, but the public can see it. So anyway, this is just about this funding. Now the requirement is to have a complete street program and a climate action action plan. Escondido has both, but our climate action plan is almost outdated. We are in the process of updating it. We might qualify for some funding from Sandag to do both. I believe the complete street is fairly up to date. I heard from Julie that we're gonna apply for another one. The Maple Plaza project has had really a tremendous impact in our downtown, and there are certain qualifications. It has to be smart growth. It has to be emission reduction driven project. So we're going to be focusing on those fundings, and hopefully we can get some more money to Escondido. Okay, that's all what I have. We go to our city manager's weekly activity report. It is attached and it is online. Oral communications, I don't have any requests. Our next council meeting is June 14th. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.